Hi guys. We're going to talk about section 9.3. I recorded an entire video. It was shorter than the other two, and then it didn't actually record any of the audio and just the video. So we're going to try again. Section 9.3 has 26 homework questions. There are numbers 1 and 2 are about calculator usage. Some of you kind of have a hard time with your parentheses and doing things that you need to do a little bit with that. So section 9.3 involves law of cosines. There are two forms. This is used when the first form is used when you're finding a side length, and then the other form is used when you're finding an angle. Okay, so just be careful which one you want to use. They really are the same. They're derived from the same, so they actually are not different. And then each of those three is actually the same. It's different forms of the same exact formula. So it's not about the formula, it's about which side are you trying to find. The first set of questions right here are about number 3 through 8. Should you use law of sines or law of cosines or neither? That's what the first set of questions is about. So pay particular attention to the information that you have. In this first problem, you have a side length known, and you have an angle known, and you have another side length known. Notice that the angle is in between the sides that you have information about. This is definitely law of cosine, should be used because you have two sides and the included angle. So this would be the one that I would mark for number 3. On the next page at the top for number 4, let's look at the information that we have. We have an angle, and we have another angle, and we have the included side. So that looks like angle, side, angle. I don't know if you remember what that included side is from geometry or not, but that looks like angle, side, angle. That side is not opposite one of the angles known, but it's definitely going to be law of sines. It's definitely going to be law of sines and not cosines. Cosines is only when it's side, 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 or side, angle, side. So we're going to use law of sines. We have two angles and a side not opposite one of those angles. So this is definitely going to be number 4 right here. And then for number 6, we have side, side, side. We have 3 side lengths known. That should be law of cosines. Excuse me. Law of cosine should be used because 3 sides are given. This should be number 6. So each time it's going to give you a list right there of what to do. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to try to solve a triangle. Remember that solving a triangle means you are looking to find all of the missing sides and angles. So in this case, be careful definitely to pay attention. I'm going to use that answer key on my calculator a lot, so just be mindful of that, and I'll talk about when I'm going to do that in just a second. These next set of problems are like homework numbers 9 through 12 because you are looking to find 2 angles and 1 side. That's really what you're trying to do because you have 2 sides given in 1 angle. So the information missing is 2 angles and a side. In this case, we are missing side C and angle A and angle B. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up to find side C. So I'm going to use the formula on the other page. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to plug everything in. I'm still looking to try to find out what C is. If you prefer to type in the square root first, you may, but for right now, I'm just going to plug everything in here and say 8 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 8 times 6. I'm going to erase that. I'll take it back. I'm actually going to use the times sign. You don't really need parentheses right here. Cosine of 30 degrees, which is also known because that's angle C. And then if you want to type in your square root before you do the rest, you may. You really could just start it with the square root, and that'll work. If you want to type in the square root after, it's not going to make any difference. You're going to solve it, and you're going to get C to be approximately 4.1. And that's the length of side C right here. Okay, then we're going to try to find the measure of angle A. So to find the measure of angle A, I'm going to set it up using one of the other formulas in the second box on that page. So I'm going to set that up like this. For the next piece, I'm going to say cosine of A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared all over 2BC. And I'm actually going to get the value for cosine of A. Then I'm going to take the inverse to find the measure of angle A at the very end of the problem. So I'm going to hold off on that a little bit. But this is about where I'm getting ready to use the parentheses. Okay, so you want to do open parentheses. B is 6, so 6 squared plus. Now I'm going to do answer. I'm going to leave that calculator answer that I had, which was 4.1 something 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 for side C. And I'm going to leave that right there, and I'm going to do answer squared. So if you're not sure where this came from, this is the 4.1 piece right here. And then minus 8 squared. Please don't forget, it is absolutely imperative to close your parentheses. And then divide it by open parentheses. Have to open parentheses here. 2 times 6. Sorry, I should have used this one. Times 6 times answer. That answer is still the 4.1. That still is the 4.1 that I had, but I'm not rounding until the end of the problem, okay? As much as possible. All right, so then I'm going to do, and I'm going to type in all of that and just hit enter. Cosine of A is going to be equal to negative 0.22604, yada, 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 yada. Now is when I'm actually going to do, and that's the answer that's in my calculator right now. So now I'm going to take the inverse cosine of both sides to cancel it out on the left. So what my final thing is going to be is inverse cosine of the answer that you had, which was the negative 0.224, I'm sorry, negative 0.22604, yada, yada, yada. All I'm pressing on my calculator is second, and then cosine, and then second, and then that answer key, which is the negative key at the bottom. Don't forget that's what that is. Okay, and that's taking that answer, and that's going to find the measure of angle A. And so A is approximately 103.1 degrees. All right, so that part so far not such a big deal, but now we got to find B, 103.1. Now I'm going to find B the easy way. Remember, angle C was already given, so to find angle B, this is the third part of the problem. Angle B is going to be equal to 180 minus A and also minus C. So it's going to be 180 minus this answer that I have right here, minus 30. I think angle C was 30 degrees. I'm going to scroll up and see if it was. Yes, it was. So I'm going to find B the fastest way, and B is approximately 46.9 degrees. And that's the end of that particular problem. Moving on to the next page. Now we're going to try to solve a triangle when we only have 3 sides known. When we only have 3 sides known, here's what's going to happen. You're going to start off using law of cosines, but it's also going to ask you what's the largest angle, what's the smallest angle, and so forth and so on. Remember that the largest angle is always opposite the longest side. Okay, so even though your My Math Lab isn't going to kind of show up without, it's going to do part 1, part 2, and so forth like this. I'm going to go ahead and mark it on this page. If this is the longest side, and this is the middle side, and this is the short side, then the largest angle has to be angle A. Middle angle second largest angle is angle B, and the smallest angle is angle C. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill those in on that page right now and then start figuring out everything else. So now I'm going to use cosine A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared all over 2BC. And then I'm going to set more stuff in here and say cosine A is equal to open parentheses. And then we're going to put in 14 squared plus 13 squared minus 18 squared. Please don't forget to close the parentheses. Can't stress that often enough. Divided by, don't forget to use your divided by key. And then you have to open parentheses again. Then you can type in 2 times 14 times 13 and close your parentheses. That's going to give you the value for cosine of A. So cosine of A is going to be equal to something like 0.1126, yada, yada, yada. This is where I'm going to do inverse cosine of both sides. So this is where I'm going to do inverse cosine to get the answer for A. So A is approximately 83.5 degrees. And if it helps, I'll put that over here. 83.5 degrees is the value of angle A. Now we're going to try to find angle B. Some of you are going to be really tempted to use law of sines, but be careful because the ambiguous case where you might get two triangles is something that could potentially happen. So you really don't want to use law of sines at this time. You want to use law of cosines twice and then just subtract from 180 to get the third angle. So we're going to say cosine of B is equal to A squared plus C squared minus B squared all over 2AC. Cosine of B, then we're going to start to plug in, is equal to, don't forget to open parentheses, especially when you're ready to type into your calculator. I'm usually going to write everything down first because it's just easier for me to do that before typing it in. 18 squared plus 13 squared minus 14 squared, excuse me, close the parentheses, divided by, open parentheses, 2 times 18 times 13 and close parentheses. And then I'm going to get cosine of B. Cosine of B is going to be something like 0.6346, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm going to press on my calculator. The keystrokes are going to be second, cosine, second, answer for that negative key to give you the answer, and that's going to take the cosine of that answer, and you're going to get B is approximately 50.6 degrees. So you would type that into the box that's given for B, the second largest angle. Now we're going to find angle C. At this point now is when I'm going to subtract from 180. So for C, I'm just going to do 180 minus A minus B. Let's take a look again and see what we got for angle A. Angle A was 83.5. Angle B was 50.6. So C is approximately 45.9. Now you can actually confirm it using law of cosines. I have done it using law of cosines for sure. So when I set it up actually this way, if I did set it up as cosine of C, just another way of getting at the same answer, is equal to A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2AB. If I solve this and I plug everything in that I'm supposed to plug in, and I think that A was 18 squared plus 14 squared minus 13 squared, close the parentheses, divided by, and then open the parentheses, and then 2 times 18 times 14 and close it. I still get 45.9 degrees when I eventually take the inverse cosine of both sides. Remember, don't forget that you would really have to do inverse cosine of this answer that you get in order to figure out what that is. Okay. And I think that I said that these problems were like, did I tell you which problems these were like? Nope, sure didn't. These are homework problems like number 13 through 17. Okay, should have said that. 13 through 17. I would definitely recommend using law of cosines twice. I just think it's the best thing to do, and then subtract from 180. The next page is about word like this. One looks like it, one looks a little bit different. And then after that, gonna pause for a second. Hard to tell sometimes if the audio is going in and out. So I may have audio and I may not have audio. That's a little bit hard to say right now. But the mixed review, our homework problems number 19 through 21, and the reading assessment are numbers 22 through 26. Got it? Okay, again, mixed review is 19 through 21. Reading assessment is 22 through 26. So hopefully that'll work okay for most of you. When I read this question, and I'm not going to read it to you, I know you can read it, but what I'm looking for is what do they really want me to find? So when I get to the second or third, when I get to the third sentence, determine the angle between the two sides of the roof, that tells me that I am looking for this angle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and call this angle A. So if I call this angle A, then if that's the only thing I need to find, I'm going to say cosine A equals, and that's going to be b squared plus c squared minus a squared all over 2bc. So it's going to be useful, I think, for some of you to go ahead and label. We're going to call side A the side opposite angle A, and then B and C, it really doesn't make any difference as long as they make up angle A. So we're going to say cosine of A is equal to, and I'm going to put an open parentheses here. This is going to be 22 squared plus 22 squared minus 20 squared, and close the parentheses here, and then divided by, all divided by, open parentheses, and then that's going to be 2 times 22 times 22 again, close the parentheses, and when I type all of that in, I get cosine A is approximately 0.5867, yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of stuff there. And then you're going to get A is when you do the inverse cosine of both sides, inverse cosine of this side, then A is approximately 54.1 degrees. And I don't think it asked you for anything besides that. And I do think it said to round to the nearest tenth of a degree. So just make sure you're always paying attention to whatever value it says to round to. And that's all I got. I tried to shorten that up a little bit. Thanks. Bye.